All right, give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to hype myself up.
You were actually recording that. That's fantastic.
Was I?
Yeah.
I thought I paused it. Okay, whatever. I'm not afraid.
Okay, make sure you actually. No, you were muted.
Yeah.
But the Zoom is still recording.
I think we have our cold open.
It's just silent screaming.
Hey guys, welcome to a very special episode. We do not have Dan and Jacob once again, so you guys are in for a lovely treat. I am, of course, here with Gorcin. Say hello,
everyone.
Gorcin. And we are just the two of us, of course, gin and tonic. So sit down, grab a cocktail, and relax as we talk to you about more weird war stories. And Gorchin's actually going to start us off. He's got a really good one.
Yeah, the good thing is this time we're actually filming at a much more reasonable cocktail drinking hour. So yeah, actually help yourselves. You're probably going to need one to get through this episode. And last time we actually had a suggestion if paint water classifies as a cocktail. Yeah. And look, unless you have an alcohol-based enamel thinner in your paint water, then I'm going to go with no.
Yeah.
Please don't drink that because we might be a little bit liable and we can't afford the lose.
Yeah, no, the enamel probably isn't a good idea actually to drink.
Yeah.
So stick with the paint water. If that's all you got, stick with paint water. That's just safer. That's all I'm saying.
HMG PSA, don't drink your paint water, regardless of its constituent parts. So yeah, the one that I wanted to start off with is one of the things that really we did a little bit accidentally last time in the HMG special was that we were a little bit like water oriented. And yes. I think just a lot of weird stuff happens when you get a whole bunch of sailors together and they think they've got a good idea. So following that theme, the one that I wanted to talk about was actually Operation Land Crab / Cottage. This was in response to something that a lot of people didn't realize happened, which was the Japanese invasion of North America.
What? Where?
Yeah.
What?
It's like a string of islands, like right on the top of the Pacific Ocean. And because America is America, basically everything that wasn't Japanese coastline, mainland Japanese coastline, was just considered American territory.
Of course.
It was the Aleutian Islands. So the Japanese invaded it and they killed a couple of sailors and they captured a US weather station in about June of 42. Just to contextualize that, that's about the same time as Battle of Midway, the Siege of Tobruk, and the First Battle of El Alamein. They're all going to happen in like the next 4 weeks.
All right.
So this really just kind of got swept under the rug.
Well, when you think about it, it's like it's a weather station compared to some of the most biggest events in the war. Like, I'm not surprised that we just completely gloss over it in our history books, you know?
Yeah. And the thing is, that's like intuitively, that makes a lot of sense. But weather stations are actually really important.
Yeah.
They were a huge part of World War II. If you knew the weather, you knew when you could conduct airstrikes. And that was a big part of the Pacific campaign, of course, was air power. You know, now everybody's saying Dune and everybody says desert power, but the Pacific was a lot of it was air power. So the US just kind of let the Japanese hold onto the islands for almost a year.
Did they know they had it?
Yeah. I mean, basically the sailors, I think they reported the initial contact and then they stopped reporting. And the US just went, oh, okay, we've got more important things to deal with.
I'm just imagining like a US is like, do we own those islands? I can't remember. I let them have it. That's fine.
Yeah. That's like, it's like when you're playing like Stellaris or Civilization, somebody takes a solar system you didn't even realize you owned. You're just like, fine.
I'm
it's a
at
gift.
War? What?
Yeah, have it. so it's like May 1943. So like almost a full year later, the US launches Operation Land Crab, which is just a fantastic name. Not land grab, land crab, which is just like, there's no better name for an island that you just capture that has a weather station on it. The best part about this is that the Japanese have been fortifying the island for an entire year.
How many?
I think it's only like it's a couple of thousand Japanese.
What?
Yeah.
And they were just allowed to hang out on an island near US.
Yeah.
soil.
I'll see how far away the Aleutian Islands are.
Oh my
but
God.
Yeah. I love this because they probably would have thought that the US are coming like any day.
Yeah.
They're coming for this. So the Aleutian Islands are right off they're near Anchorage in Alaska. If you think about the US map, and Alaska has that really long tail that stretches in the Pacific Ocean, that's the Aleutian Islands.
Right.
Just to contextualize that for you. So I love how the US like eventually responded. So this is like a year after Battle of Midway and everything.
Yeah.
They've got a couple of thousand entrenched Japanese. So they land not 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. They land 15,000 US soldiers.
Whoa.
On the Aleutian Islands. It's like
Jesus
5-1 odds.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't wrong. The US were coming for them in force. It just took them a year. That's all. 15,000.
Yeah. And here's the thing, because the Japanese were so well entrenched, and as it is popularly known, is that the Japanese in defense you couldn't move them. They're inimitable. They just could not be, you just couldn't break through. So it took them forever. About 2 weeks, which is a really long time when you think about 5-1 odds on an island campaign.
Yeah, true.
2 weeks to corner them in one harbor, which was Chichagof Harbor. Right. And so this is the part where it just really like characterizes the Japanese, the defenders they are.
Yeah.
There's not that many of them left, like at this point, because the Japanese started with about 3,000. And this is after 2 weeks of heavy defensive fighting. So they're well attrited.
Man,
the numbers
3,000 guys sitting just off the coast of America.
Well, yeah, in Alaska. I mean, the wilderness by all stretch of the imaginations, but yeah.
Okay.
And why nobody did anything about them or with them? Like, I don't know why they actually didn't do anything. I suspect that the Japanese Navy was too busy doing other stuff in the Pacific to worry about a few thousand soldiers. So they eventually cornered them in this harbor. And the Japanese commander, Yamasaki, realizes his odds at this point. You know, it's at best probably like 13,000 to 1,000, if that, right? So it's like 13-1, if that. So this is insane. It's his last defenders in a harbor. He knows that the Japanese Navy isn't coming. They've been blockaded by the US for 2 weeks, fighting back to back. So he just orders a banzai charge.
Of course.
Just up and at it. And here's the crazy part. He actually broke through the US lines with his banzai charge.
What?
Yes, he led them personally, like all of them, just basically like up the guts.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And they broke out. I think it was like several hundred meters or maybe even a kilometer through the US lines. Like It was just a charge that never ended. And this is the part that gets like, I cannot believe this. It's 28 men that were taken prisoner. 28 Japanese men were
out
taken
of 3,000.
Out of 3,000. Yeah.
Far out, man.
And all over like a tiny island chain in the Aleutian Islands.
Yeah.
And I think that if like a lot of the times you talk about all of these desperate last stands, and a lot of the times they had a purpose. They were either buying time for somebody or, the last one we talked about, Battle of Castle Iter, which was effectively a last stand of prisoners. They were trying to keep these people alive. But the Japanese, it's not like the US mistreated their prisoner of wars. I mean, it's a broad stroke. I'm not going to say some nasty things didn't happen, but by and large, they weren't being Japanese prisoners of war. They weren't being German or Russian prisoners of war.
Yeah, like you think about the tactical kind of implications of, the Guadalcanal campaign.
Yeah.
of like all of those islands. They were important. They were strategic.
Yeah, they
This
had
meant nothing.
yeah, it's a weather station that was already captured by this point. And you know, as you rightly pointed out, a lot of those islands, like Midway was an airstrip halfway across the Pacific. A lot of those ones were natural harbors or had airports, or there was something actually worth battling over. And here it's just like okay, fine, you held up a couple of US divisions of infantry that were busy doing that instead of something else. But honestly, if they could spare 15,000 US like soldiers for that island, it either must have been really important or May 1943 was really boring. They had nothing better to do.
Looks like we're mopping up, boys. Did we miss it? Remember that there's just like a 3,000 guys sitting off our coast? We should probably do something about that. Oh my God. That's incredible.
Yeah. And this is the part I actually love even more than all of this. That was only one of the islands.
What do you mean?
So the Aleutian Islands is like an island chain, right?
Yeah.
So Operation Landcrab was only one of the islands. It was just one of them. So it was followed up by Operation Cottage, which is for the Kiska Island.
Cottage. What?
Yeah. I know. You get like Operation Overlord and Sea Lion and
Burning Torch or whatever,
and Bagraton and Citadel and all this other stuff, and then you're just like Cottage.
Yeah. Even Market Garden sounds, kind of like, ooh, that's kind of intriguing.
Yeah, it's dangerous because it doesn't sound dangerous, right? Like, they only called it Market Garden because it's super
insidious.
Dangerous. Like the Manhattan Project.
Exactly.
It's like they're building something in Manhattan. So this was after Landcrab. This is after.
That's the way you said it. Sorry. Go on.
I mean, you got to be flippant about a nuclear weapon. It's the only way to be.
Of course.
It was U.S. foreign policy for a long time, but I'm getting sidetracked. So this is like a subsequent island. And they were mega worried after Landcrab because it was extremely costly for them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you had to fight 3,000 guys down to a man.
Yeah.
Down to minus 28 out of 3,000. And so they didn't actually get to Kiska, which is not that much further away. I think it's probably like at most 10 or 15 nautical miles. Like we're not talking, it's not a strategic distance.
Is it part of the island chain?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And so they didn't get there till August of 1943. So it took them like 2 or 3 months to lick their wounds before they tried this again.
They're like, nah, man. No, I don't want to.
To contextualize this, in August or during this period in 43, Operation Husky's cracking on, which is Sicily.
All right.
And at the same time, Denmark is occupied by Germany in 43.
Wow. Did Denmark really last until 43?
According to my notes, yeah.
Wow.
So it might have, they might not have just like quote unquote gotten around to Denmark. they were pretty busy, I guess.
Denmark's like, shh, they were quiet. They won't see.
Yeah. And this is the best part. They were so worried about the island of Attu, ATTU, which is like next to Kiska, basically.
Yeah.
They were so worried about this like archipelago of Kiska that they were bombing it since Landcrab. So they've been
Landcrab.
They've been shelling these islands for like 3 months.
Is there anyone on these islands?
This is the best part. They start wrecking the island and they find no one.
Oh my God.
So the US land on one side of Attu and the Canadians land on the other side. And so the idea was that they didn't want to have this like final stand in a harbor again. And they didn't want this breakthrough to really have a lot of impact if they decided to banzai charge again. So while they're moving through like Attu, the going is super slow. Like it's not a very big island. And they are taking like hours and hours to cross a kilometer or two.
They're just being like really cautious.
Yeah, mines, bombs, booby traps, and even a sea mine took out the USS Abner Reed. And that was just one day.
I'm confused. Why? So there are mines and booby traps and stuff on this island?
Yeah.
Who put them there?
The Japanese at some point. Because remember, they were on these islands for a year before the Americans did anything.
What were they trying to achieve with that? Because they didn't stay on the island.
I don't know. This is what I suspect happened is that they probably like conquered one island, defended it, moved on to the next one, defended it, moved on to the next one, defended it, and then they sat on the most important one by the end of it.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's my guess. So then like you can see where this is going. Everybody is super high strung from booby traps, pitfalls, and just like random explosves and stuff. So then the Canadians finally spot someone. And they just open fire. They just let loose because they landed just before dawn, I think, and it's nearing nightfall. So you've nearly got like 12 hours in this extremely stressful, high-strung state.
Yeah,
they spot somebody and they just start opening fire. And then of course the Americans returned fire because somebody started shooting at them.
Yeah.
That firefight lasted for apparently nearly an hour and caused 60 casualties. So there were on just the island of Attu, there was 300 casualties in total. 60 were friendly fire, 100 were lost souls on the Abner Reed that was sunk by a sea mine.
100.
And the other 140 were lost to booby traps, basically, and just
so many. How many booby traps are there? Like,
I know.
That's so.
I have no
disgusting.
idea. I have absolutely no idea. I'm trying to figure out how big this island is. It's like 900 square kilometers.
Oh,
so like it's a pretty big island, but not a single like Japanese soldier was present on that island, and they still caused effectively 300 casualties.
That's psychological warfare for you.
Yeah, 100%. That is. That's and this is why I loved it, because as a weird war thing that happened is like, can you imagine what that would look like as a bolt action mission? You'd have like, it'd be 2v1, right? You'd have the US and the Canadians like signed up next to each other. You'd have some weird fog of war. And then when the Japanese player rocks up, you just give them a piece of paper that's just like, you have no forces. Your job is to place as many booby traps as you possibly can.
Yeah.
that you'd have to play that with like the US guy in one room and the Canadian guy in the other room. And have like a mirrored map that they like explored, and then just have the Japanese player just causing absolute havoc.
You give like each player like 1,000 points, and then you literally give the Japanese player 1,000 points worth of booby trap
and minefields. And then I just laugh. You just absolutely laugh. And then like the moment when like they'd start shooting and then the Americans start shooting back and they wouldn't know who they were shooting at. That would be great. That would be fantastic.
That's a good way to lose a couple friends, I think, making them play that. Yeah. Look, I think that's a fair assessment. I think the only person who's going to enjoy that, like really enjoy that, is the Japanese player.
Yeah, and the dude who put it together,
and the dude who's putting it together. Absolutely,
it would just be them two just like chuckling in this room, and every time like the US, the Canadian player walks into like the referee room, they'd just be like.
You know, the best thing is you tell both the British player and the US player that they've both won.
There's nothing more American than that.
Oh, far out. That's a good one. I really like that. I mean, it's pure incompetence. And what
is it though? I mean, like, how many booby traps can you disarm before you eventually like fuck one up? Because it's a numbers game, right? You're playing percentages.
Yeah.
There's
what,
and I don't imagine like EOD was as sophisticated in World War II as it is now.
No, absolutely not. But like, what was it, 140 guys, right?
To booby traps.
Yeah, so 140 guys to booby traps. That's, let's say it's probably about one guy each, right? 1.5.
Yeah,
round
sure,
up to 2. So 70 booby traps killed were activated successfully.
Good God!
How many? Like, what's the success rate?
Oh God, with a number like that, over 800, like, I guess if you've got a year to defend an island, you're just gonna make a stupid amount of booby traps.
Well, see, this is the thing. You were like, oh, well, they took it, defended it, moved back.
I'm guessing, yeah.
Okay, here's my theory, right? You want to hear my theory? It's classic military adage of hurry up and wait, right? So you've got the captain. He's got 3,000 soldiers under him. And they're like, sir, what do we do today? And he's like, and then he looks over at the supplies and they've got like 3,000 stacks of like booby traps and there's sticks everywhere. And like,
it's just like TNT and RDX and stuff.
Yeah. In fact, he's like, use the boat that we made yesterday when we were bored and go to another island.
Yeah. Use today to disassemble the 4,000 rafts that we built yesterday to get onto this island to make all of the booby traps. What are we going to do tomorrow? You're going to cut down all the trees and make more rafts so we can invade the other island. I really want to know like what happened to the Imperial Japanese Navy that like ferried these guys over. Do you reckon they just dropped them off, ferried them across the island and went, yeah, well, that's us. See you later.
Well, this is the thing, right? 3,000 guys for 1 year on an island, right? Need to be resupplied. The Japanese need to know they're there. They know they have 3,000 troops sitting there, and they're like, what do we do with them?
Yeah, I don't know. There are just so many questions from like a logistical perspective. Do you just like airdrop supplies onto these guys?
I don't know. Like, the Japanese wouldn't have the capability to get that close to airdrop. Surely.
I think they had some pretty long range aircraft. I think that was their whole shtick, was that their aircraft were super long range early to mid war.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Look,
I just like the idea that it's like an automated process. Like they're like, oh, we send these supplies there. And there's just this poor logistical officer who's like, where are these going?
I 100% in the bureaucracy that is the military, that is 100% automated. Yeah. There is some dude, and especially because it's 1942, there is some like checking book for like logistical supplies. And some dude's like, yeah, it's that time of the year again. Gotta send some supplies out of this boat. And there's some fucking like IJN like shipping sailors just like, God, why? Why are we going to Alaska again?
Oh my God. I like the idea that like the quartermaster has actually been like, where are these supplies going? And the officer above him's like, don't question orders. Yeah. He doesn't know either, but he's not going to admit that to an inferior officer. Shut up and do your job. Like,
it's like a bad sitcom.
Yeah.
This is like the World War II equivalent of MASH for like Imperial Japanese in the army. Actually, I don't know if there were like IJN Marines sailors or if there were army, Imperial Japanese army. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
And this is like just some straight Hearts of Iron 4 shit. You're just like, it's like 12 divisions? No, I've only got 11. Where's this 12th division? I don't have a 12th division anywhere. Why am I getting Texas 12th division? And then like you finally fucking scroll out and there it is, just like tacked onto an island in like Alaska.
When did I put him there? It was a misclick or something earlier.
Oh, yeah, these poor 3,000 men's lives is a misclick by some like Japanese general.
Oh, it's so bad. Yeah, it's actually a typo. They were supposed to go to like some other island.
Yeah. Yeah. No. We want you to go to Balaska, not Alaska.
Yes, of course. The famous Balaska. Yeah. Far out. Well, speaking of invasions of American soil.
Right.
I got another island story for you. All right.
Okay.
So picture this, right? Pearl Harbor. Everything's happening. Everything's going down. A Zero flies in. And
as they want to do.
Yeah. Flies in, strafes. And I think it's unclear. I think he gets hit.
Right. Okay.
So there's this one pilot. His name is Shigenori Nishikaichi.
Okay. Okay. Ishikaichi. Yeah.
Yeah. Ishikaichi. So he flies his plane does a run, gets hit. He gets hit by another airplane, right?
Right. Okay. So probably be a wildcat or something.
Yeah, something like that. He thinks it's going to be fine, so he's not going down. He regroups with a couple of zeros, and they start flying back. Gas tank's been punctured. He's going down.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So he then makes a quick calculation and sees that there's an island, couple 100 miles away, 140 miles away, and he's got his chart out, and he's like, "Well, I can get to there. That's it. That's as far as I can go." So he makes it there, limps there, and crashes onto the island.
Is this like some deserted island? Is this some like Castaway, Tom Hanks stuff?
Kind of. No, actually, no. That's rude. No, it's not. He stumbles upon the island of Hawaii,
invaded by a single Japanese soldier.
Yeah. So
actually no pilot.
Yeah. So he crash lands. He crash lands on the island of Hawaii.
Look, any land that you walk away from is not a crash landing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Right. So yeah, he didn't know it was inhabited. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
They need to work on their intel, but sure.
Well, that's it. They literally say Japanese intelligence screwed the pooch on that, right? So yeah, he lands on the island, and he has intelligence in his plane, right? There's some important documents that he doesn't want to lose.
Right, because he's a pilot. He'd probably have like fleet positions and force dispositions and that sort of thing, and his flight plan briefing, mission briefing, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah.
So Nishikaichi crash lands on this island. It's not the main island of Hawaii. He lands on Niihau.
Right. Okay.
The smallest main island of Hawaii.
So you said the Japanese thought they're in uninhabited. Was it like all of Hawaii, or did they just think?
No, Niihau. He just thought Niihau was uninhabited. I read that. I read that wrong.
It's a bit more forgivable for Japanese intelligence.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a main island of Hawaii. That's like Japan forgetting that the bottom half of their country is uninhabited.
Yeah, look, fair enough.
Yeah. Especially as an island nation, you think you'd have a bit more respect.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anyway.
Fair enough.
Anyway, so crash lands. He's got these documents. He leaves his plane, starts walking down, sees some buildings and such, and a bunch of people at a church.
Right.
And he walks up to them, and he's speaking to them. But of course, they don't understand Japanese.
Right.
They don't know that he's an enemy combatant at this point.
Right, because this was during the Battle of Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So and there's no radio or phone or anything on this island, right?
Really?
Well, anywhere, but like they have no communication with the outside world. So they see this guy, he crash lands. They're like, "What? Yeah. That's lucky you're still alive."
Yeah, I mean, most people didn't find about Pearl Harbor until like a day later when the president broke it and stuff. Anyway, so it's completely believable that most people didn't know it was happening. Also, especially if you're lacking telecommunications of any kind.
Yeah. They don't know. This guy's come down. They can't understand him. A guy called Yoshio Harada. So is an American citizen, but Japanese ancestry.
Descent, yeah.
Brought in to translate. And he did exactly that. But,
so he was a local on...
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So he lives on Niihau.
Sure, yeah.
But, so he translates, tells him, he's crashed. He was flying his plane. Leaves out the fact that he was there to bomb Pearl Harbor. Just leaves it out. Thinks it's not an important detail.
Is he like lost that in translation or something?
Yeah.
It is just like attack, bomb. Must have been a concussion.
You'll see a little bit of what's it called? Foreshadowing. A little bit of foreshadowing. He leaves it out on purpose.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. But so these people, wow, you survived your plane crash. What do? They throw him a luau. They feed him breakfast.
Look, that makes a lot of sense. If you don't know that he's an enemy combatant and somebody's just gone, he's crashed, you're going to be like, party.
Man,
I'd do it.
There's no better reason to celebrate than to being alive, you know?
Yeah, look, I partied for a lot less.
Yeah. I party for nothing. So anyway, yeah. So they're partying, and then it gets a little bit iffy when they finally find out. So he spends quite a bit of time there.
Yeah.
Until they find out that he's part of the bombing of Pearl Harbour.
Right. Okay.
And he finds out that they've got his documents. So they've taken documents from his plane, and so he wants them back.
So was okay? Yeah, go on.
So until then, he's kind of
this is like an episode of Lost or something.
Yeah,
like...
yeah. So until this point, he's been quite calm, obviously, and then they find out that
he just fucking landed on the island. You get people throw a party for him. I'd have some good vibes.
Oh, absolutely. So he's sitting there. He's like, yeah, ooh, kind of thing until no longer. And so he's like, I better get going then. Wait, you've got my documents, give them back. And they're like, no, you can't have these back.
Where does he like, I love that. He's like, I'm just going to leave this island.
Yeah.
I don't know what his plan was after that.
Well, I'll tell you what his plan was. His plan was he was going to enroll the translator and bring him unofficially into the Japanese army, the Imperial Japanese Army.
I don't know what the knighting ceremony for that would be.
So Harada, the translator, stole some guns from the gun owners on the island and enrolled.
This is America, after all.
Yeah, and enrolled himself in the Imperial Japanese Army. He attacked the guard that they put on Shigenori.
Good.
And then they went and tried to get his stuff back with a shotgun.
His documents. Yeah,
you know, as you do with a shotgun. Yeah.
I mean, is there anything more American? Getting your property back with a shotgun.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So
look, honestly, these guys are sounding more American than Japanese at this point.
Man, look, it must be the water or something.
It's just the sea breeze, just like makes you want to own buckshot.
Get some freedom pellets in you. Freedom seed. Sorry, I think that's what they call them over there. 762 freedom seed. Okay. Anyway, so the guy who was holding on to the documents, he escaped. So he's like, take him, I'm gonna leave. He runs away and tells the entire island, obviously. And then while he's busy telling everyone and they're trying to work out what to do, the Shigenori and Harada,
pilot and the translator,
pilot and the translator stole a wagon. So
nice.
It's not a car, a wagon.
Okay.
And pimped it out with machine guns from the plane.
Wait, is this like a horse-drawn wagon or like a towed wagon?
It just says wagon. And then they pimped it out with the machine guns from the Zero. They literally went back to the plane and took the guns off it.
Look, honestly, if I had a choice between multiple rifle caliber machine guns and a shotgun, I would 100% take the towed machine gun trolley wagon thing.
Absolutely. I like the idea of like one of them standing there with two machine guns just shooting in the air while the other one's like carrying the castle.
Oh man, like what are they called? Like the little the people carrier things?
Tuk-tuk?
Tuk-tuk. It's just like a machine gun armed tuk-tuk. I have no idea. Like there's so many variants of an A6M. I don't know which one. I'm trying to find out what firepower it was because I think some of them actually had 20 mil cannons. So
hold on. I think I had that in my notes. Here we go. A6M2.
No, he would have just had rifle caliber machine guns and an A6M2. It was the threes that had the 20 mils, which would have been like what a fuck you and the couch you rode in on. Like 20 millimeter armed tuk-tuk.
Yeah.
What do you reckon the points for that would be in Bolt Action?
You know what? You have to pay. You get paid points to take it.
You paid points.
No,
So yeah, I'm writing that unit
all right.
profile.
To make this in the theme of a bolt action podcast, I think
Loosely.
Yeah, loosely. So it's got 2 LMGs on it. So what? They're 20 points each.
Yeah.
Make them unreliable because you've taken them off a fucking plane.
that was almost as asynchronous as me calling like 18th century cannons anti-tank guns.
That's right.
Almost as asynchronous. Would they be unreliable though?
Well, I mean,
oh right, because they're this is something that I learned about with Western machine guns, and I suspect it would have been the same for the Japanese. So the 50 calibers that they gave to the infantry troops and the one they gave to the aircraft is the same design, except the aircraft ones are actually slimmer and have a higher cyclical rate, which is fine because they have a lot more air cooling, right?
Yeah.
Because they're just hanging out on the side of a plane. So
Makes
they're a
sense.
lot.
You don't, and it's higher, so it's colder. You don't.
The guns can run a lot hotter because the surrounding air is more cool. So
makes sense.
Yeah, I think if you have a couple of aircraft machine guns at sea level, literally, you might run into some unreliability problems. All right, so we've got what's the transport capacity? 3,
2, 1 driver, 1 guy standing on the wagon.
Okay.
The way the wagon's described in the source that I'm using, it sounds like it's not like a people wagon, but literally like a wagon you put like fruit on or something.
Oh, like a wheelbarrow.
Just like a flatbed.
That's even better. Look, I was at Bunnings and I did not find any machine gun on wheelbarrows. I'm not gonna tell you. I feel I was shortchanged in that transaction.
So like, I'm gonna say 2. You got 2.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Inexperienced. One's a pilot, and the other dude's literally picking up a gun for the first time in his life.
It would be a wheeled vehicle, but it would be slow.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Was that 3 inches?
No. Because a wheeled's like 12 and 24, right? So it'd be like 9 and 12.
You're gonna give that thing 9 inches.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay. All right.
100%. The guy who lives on that island, he'd be agrarian, right? He'd be like a farmer.
Yeah. They're all sheep herds and stuff.
Yeah. He'd be tough as nails.
Okay.
He'd be jacked carrying this wheelbarrow.
Yeah, true.
One tiny Japanese pilot and a couple of machine guns, like nothing to this guy.
Yeah, true. And then there's strip machine guns as well. So that does.
Yeah.
Actually, so, but how do you? Because they don't have anything to rest these machine guns on. So is there any modifiers in the rules that exist to make their shooting even worse than inexperienced?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Maybe like can't fire at long range. This is just 18-inch Blackmobile. Just
look. All right. So the reason I'm asking,
knowing bolt action rules, it would be like horrendously efficient.
It would
be such a good.
It would. Someone would just spam these tuk-tuks.
It'd be like 30 points.
Yeah. So the reason I'm asking is because they went to dude's house who had the documents, and they actually fired at him with a shotgun inside a house and missed.
Well, yeah, that's like, why the shotgun though?
Oh, it's what he stole from someone.
Yeah, sure, but I mean, you have 2 machine guns. Why the shotgun?
Oh, they didn't have the machine guns then.
Oh, right.
So this is when they were breaking him out of prison and getting the documents, and then they went and got the machine guns.
Yeah, look, so no points for marksmanship. Or like
No. I do like the idea that they can shoot, like they've got a close range weapon, like should have come to it. Oh, and a pistol. They have a pistol too. So
good. You know, at least they've got a backup.
Yeah.
Because you know what they say is like 1 is none and 2 is 1.
That's it. All right. So just going to finish the story real quick.
Yeah. So we've got this like armed tuk-tuk.
Yep. So they don't find the documents in the dude's house, and they actually burn it down out of frustration. They're just like, screw you, man. And they burn his house down for the rest of the night. So they got out.
Yeah.
He ran away. and they walked through the streets. No one came out of their houses. They were like, surrender, everyone surrender. And one guy came out and was like, all right. Like, don't hurt anyone. I'll come with you. Like, just, I'll be a prisoner. Just
sure. Yeah.
And so they were like, cool. Yeah. Awesome. The rest of the night, they just shot guns into the air. They were just yelling and running through the streets, shooting their guns.
There is no way these guys are Japanese.
I don't know what to tell you. I mean, one of them's American born, so
they are American through and through. It's like, we stole your gun, surrender. Just shooting into the air, having a fucking party.
Yeah. So the guy who ran away was currently getting onto the mainland so he could ask for help.
Okay, he must have had a boat or something, or he was just such a good swimmer.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure he had a boat. They asked the prisoner to look for him, and the prisoner knew that he'd gone to get help, and so he was like, hey, is anyone here? He made a show of looking for them by calling out, but he wasn't actually trying, obviously. Anyway,
this honestly feels like if you let a whole bunch of 15-year-olds write a sitcom, that they thought, and then they were just like, but they were told that they couldn't cut any content. So once they wrote something, they were just like, it's stuck in. We got to go with it.
Yeah. Well, it gets even crazier, right? Because
it's like there's one kid on like one side of the writer's room who's like written that this guy's like already left, and the other guy's like, but they're gonna search for him, and you're like, he's already left. Just make him search for him.
And he still searches. And so keep that, because that's a good metaphor for what's about to happen. Right?
Okay, it gets better.
Okay, so these guys have written themselves into a corner. What happens next? I'll tell you what happens. The locals get angry after not being able to sleep for a night because, guns are being shot off around their house.
That they're angry. Like
they're angry about everything else. This is the straw that broke the camel's back. Okay.
I just love that. Like, these guys are so non-threatening with 2 machine guns and a shotgun. Like the locals must be so armed to the teeth that it's just like, man, whatever.
No, see, this is the thing. Harada, the translator, stole all the guns on the island. There was 2 guns. There was a shotgun and a pistol. That's it. No one else seems to have any guns, right? Otherwise, you'd bring them out, right? But they don't.
Yeah. I mean, it's also understandable that if you see 2 guys with a couple of machine guns in the street, you're not going to take a pot shot with your buck.
Yeah. But, okay. So the reason I think these are the only guns on the island is because of the following. So they're standing in the middle of the street. The
presumably cranky because they haven't slept as well.
Yeah, they're not. They haven't had their coffee either. It's a bad time. But yeah, I think it's the chief and the chief's wife come out because just in the morning they can't find the documents still.
Yeah.
They said they're going to shoot the hostage if no one gives them the documents. And so the chief and his wife come out and a couple others, and the chief is like, don't do that. Don't do that. And the chief's wife says to Harada, who speaks Hawaiian, obviously.
Yeah.
Hawaiian? Is that language? Whatever the local language is. I can't remember. Yeah. They say, Harada, take the pistol off the pilot. Take the pistol off him.
Right.
She literally walks up to him and says, what are you doing? Take the pistol off him. He's like, balls of steel on this woman.
It took a moment to process. I was like, she just asked for the pistol. I was like, no, wait, these guys just said they're going to shoot a hostage. You don't just walk up to them and go, just take his fucking gun. Yeah. What do you mean you're working with him? Just take his gun. Yeah. Again, so obviously he can't understand because he's Japanese. But Harada is like, he said, he asked for the shotgun. We don't know why, because as soon as he asked for the shotgun, the chief and the chief's wife lunge at them, right? Grab a rock and beat their heads in. I shouldn't be applauding that because that's horrific. But also, like, god damn, that is spine. Yeah, that is absolutely spine. So they managed to they beat Harada to death with a rock. Oh my god. No, sorry, they beat the pilot to death with the rock. Harada took his own life. He shot himself rather than face the chief and the chief's wife. He didn't want it. So he killed himself. Good God. That is what a way to just that's some straight like chieftain and chieftain's wife shit. It's just like yeah, whatever, you can take the guns and you can fuck around, you can keep us up all night or whatever. But it's just like, it's like you threaten to kill one of us. All right, now it's on. Now it's fucking
that's
on.
a bridge too far. Like,
Yeah, now it's on
hold our
like Donkey
whole
Kong.
village, like keep us all awake at night. Yeah, whatever. It's just a minor annoyance.
Yeah.
Don't kill him. Don't kill anyone.
I think I love somehow I think the chieftain was just like the right mix, or the chief was just the right mix of like pragmatist and idealist.
Yeah.
So he was like, oh no, you're keeping us hostage. Nothing fucking changed. What do we care? And then it's just like, oh, you can't find the documents. Whoop-de-doo, not our problem. Oh, you kept us up all night. That's a bit annoying, but not a big deal. It's like, oh, you're actually a Japanese prisoner of war, technically speaking. All right, man, just don't cause a fuss and it'll all be fine. It's just like, you want to use your machine guns in a tuk-tuk? Like, I guess they're your machine guns. They're not really ours. It's a free world, it's a free country. It's a free country.
You do you, bro.
It's just like, you're gonna kill one of us. All right. Now it's up.
No, it just got personal. So the chief gets a Purple Heart for this.
Was he wounded?
Must have been. He got a Purple Heart. Awards, medals. He got a bunch of stuff. They even wrote a song, right? And it's called "They Couldn't Take Ni Hao, No How."
You can't be serious. They could take me how no.
There is. I'll try and play a little bit of it. I'll see if I can find it somewhere, because I've only got the lyrics here. I'm not going to sing it because I don't know the tune and the beat, and I'm not going to embarrass myself like that.
We'll just hang out for a few moments of silence in case you find the audio track in post.
Hey guys, this is Tyler from the future. Just while I'm editing this, I'm trying to find an audio click, and it turns out there's no publicly available audio of this particular song. However, there is lyrics and sheet music available. I'll leave links down below. If we maybe have some musically minded viewers, we would absolutely love to hear your rendition of this song. And you'd be adding a bit to history, so other people can enjoy and listen to that song too. So links are down below. If you feel like you want to give it a crack, we at HMG would absolutely love to hear it, and you'd be making a piece of history. All right, guys. See you next time. On with the show. Yeah.
Perfect.
No, but I'll give you my favorite line, right? Then Big Kanahele grabbed the Jap around the belly.
How do you do that? How do you grab somebody around? What is is he like some kind of demigod deity with like the handspan of Tom Cruise's height? This is so, it's, if you've seen Moana and you're reading this, you're like, I understand. It's the best way I can describe it. Like, another line is, Kanahele took a swallow and tightened up his mallow, and then he girded up his other loin. His other loin? He's just like some two-pronged deity just out kicking ass.
Yeah.
I love this guy, and I love this song. This is gonna be like my wake up song. I'm gonna start the day. I'm gonna channel my inner Hawaiian chief.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna grab some people by the belly.
Oh, I completely forgot about this. Right. So back at the beginning, to add insult to injury, I think it was Kanahale who actually dragged him out of the plane.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a nice poetic circle.
Yeah.
I like that. Again, super horrific to be beaten to death, but also if it's gonna be by anyone, like, go him.
Well, he actually, sorry, I missaid. He got his head bashed in, but they then slit his throat as well. Just
to be sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, like it's kind of personal at that point, isn't it? It kind of has to be personal.
Yeah. So the fact that they got a rock and a knife makes me think there's no other guns on the island.
Yeah. Look, fair enough. Well, look, honestly, they don't need them.
Yeah.
With those two protecting them. With the
Kanahale grabbing them by the belly.
He's probably got cannons for arms. Like they're probably licensed firearms. Like,
for sure.
Destructive devices for sure.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know what happened in like that triangle in World War II between like Hawaii, North America, and like the Arctic, because there's a whole bunch of weird stuff that happened. Like one of the other stories that one reminded me of was the Nazi invasion of Canada.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. So they made it all the way to Canada, my friend. This is like the other side of the continent to the Aleutian Islands.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense.
This is like
Canada.
the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
So again, like just to kind of reiterate, weather was super important, or weather information was super important for naval engagements. Knowing what's going to happen and when is vital planning naval ops, and it basically became a weapon in its own right.
Right.
You know, and there were some people might have read this. There were some R&D projects to try to weaponize the weather. They all flopped pretty hilariously. But so the next best thing is they weaponize the information, right?
Of course, yes.
Which we all know is a very effective way of doing it. You know, Enigma and all that. So this is in 43. At this point, it was clear to the Nazi Germany that the US had the upper hand, and they had at this point in time, US had conquered or occupied Iceland and Greenland. So when you think about the Atlantic Ocean and weather stations, like you're pretty much dominating that entire transit corridor between the US and mainland Europe, not to mention the UK. So if you can control that, then you've got you have basically command and control and being able to dictate naval operations, which is a big part, especially with the U-boats trying to do their thing. So Nazi Germany needed its own weather station, its own intelligence. So they came up with this idea for an automatic weather station. Didn't need to be manned. And so the idea was that you would just plonk it somewhere and it would just send you the weather data on a rotation.
That's pretty advanced for World War II.
Yeah. And they contracted a brand that some people might recognize, Siemens, actually. So Siemens actually is one of the world leaders of automation at the moment.
What's a product? Because they sound very SIEMANS, isn't it?
Yeah. So they do basically PLCs, so programmable logical control circuits.
Okay, yeah.
So basically, any factory automation runs off Siemens. So
that's kind of funny.
Yeah. So these guys came up with a weather station, and in true German fashion, they called it a Wetterfunkegerät Land, which means weather radio device land, sandwiched into one word.
Awesome. Of course.
It's the most German word.
Yeah.
It's the most German thing to do. You just smash words together to create a new word.
Well, I mean, isn't Panzer literally like their word for a tank?
It actually means armor.
Okay.
So they were using tank until they used the word Panzer for a long time.
And so Panzer 4 is an armor 4.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't quite translate that way.
Okay.
Because when we say an armored division, we don't mean armored division, we mean tank division.
Yeah.
So it's actually the same kind of like vernacular.
Okay.
So when they say Panzerabteilung, they mean armor battalion, and everybody understands that to mean tank battalion.
Okay.
So Siemens built this Wetterfunkegerät Land, and then the Nazi Germany put together a group of sailors and soldiers on a secret U-boat. So not only were all like U-boats pretty hush hush, this was also secret by U-boat standards.
Wow.
And so they also filled it with sailors, soldiers, and also meteorologists, which is fantastic, because what they needed to do was they needed to basically ensure that the device was working. So they sent some meteorologists to set it up and take some readings and make sure it was all hunky dory. And so their plan was to park it in like the more or less Arctic tundra wasteland of northeastern Canada, where at this point it was mostly like indigenous populations.
Right.
And so this was October 1943. So as they're sailing basically across that part of the Atlantic around the Arctic Circle, they run into a storm. And during the storm, they get slammed into an iceberg. Like the U-boat, because like U-boats only operated underwater when they were like conducting a mission. They were, aside from that, they were surface ships. So it literally just got picked up and chucked against an iceberg. and it actually like disabled its ability to dive and destroyed its AA gun.
Ooh.
So
So it had no defenses for a while being above water.
yeah, so
And couldn't die.
U-boats, yeah, U-boats have torpedoes. I think they have like a couple of like 20 mils or something like that. Depends on, of course, the model U-boat. They've usually got like a 3-inch gun, a deck gun, and they've got an AA gun. So it's usually some assortment of that. But the AA gun was toast, was dead. And as far as I understand it, this version didn't have the 3-inch gun and an AA gun. It just had like a combined armament.
Yeah.
So I think it had like a 2.5-inch that served both roles.
Yeah.
So it's basically toothless and it can't dive. And it's just a German U-boat, just hanging out.
And so they turned around, of course.
They kept going. And this is the best. They got there completely unmolested, aside from being thrown against an iceberg.
Wasn't there supposed to be like a lot of convoys moving through or patrols or anything? I guess not.
Yeah,
off the coast
I'm guessing because Greenland and Iceland were already occupied, they kind of just sailed more around the Arctic as opposed to using the main trade roads, like the merchant convoys, because those are sort of like, they're obviously not a highway, but they're kind of like an ocean highway. They have like particular trade lanes. And I suspect that they would have been a bit more dynamic because of the U-boat hunting that was going on anyway. So they basically just managed to avoid it. And
fair enough.
It gets like, that's just the start of their crazy shenanigans.
Well, so they haven't even set up the weather station, right?
Yeah, they set up the weather station and they camouflage it, not in like by painting it white and trying to make it disappear into the Canadian,
make it look like the iceberg, make it like
they parked it basically what is on a Canadian ice beach, and they labeled it Canadian Meteor Service, which is a fictitious entity that doesn't exist.
What? Okay, so hold on, what? So they didn't camouflage by
they
like
hid it in plain sight.
Yeah.
So no like camo netting.
Making a fake company.
Yeah, they just called it like Canadian Meteor Service.
Did Canada have a meteorological service or anything?
They did. It wasn't called the Canadian Meteor Service.
Makes sense. It's a fair stab in the dark, all things considered.
No, I think their intent was that it wasn't. They didn't want it to be the official meteor service because that's not going to pass a sniff test.
Yeah. Okay.
I suspect I could be giving them too much credit. I suspect that they wanted something that just sounded plausible, but wasn't the official government branch. So like some companies set it up and everyone's like, oh yeah, whatever.
No, I get it.
But that was only the start of their deception. They also camouflaged it by scattering rubbish of American consumer goods around the meteor station.
What do you mean by consumer goods?
So chewing gum wrappers, cigarette packets, lighters, all that sort of stuff.
When you said consumer goods, I'm thinking like drums of oil or something. No, they're literally just scattering like candy wrappers.
Yes, literal candy wrappers. Just stuff that they thought that like guys who set up a meteorological station would eat. Of course. Like, oh, Americans chewing cigarettes and smoking gum. Yeah, that's what Americans do. Okay.
Crazy Americans. Oh my God.
It's like, just imagine like, oh, Hans, look at me. I'm American. Look at me chew this cigarette. I'm so stupid.
Oh, it just tastes horrible. Why do they do this?
And like, so they pack up and they slink away undetected. Just nobody knew that they did this.
Whoa.
On their way back, they get spotted. It only took them like about a day. I think it was like an overnight thing that they set up the station.
Right.
So they're underway the next day, all loaded up, ready to go. And this point now, they bump into, I think it's a Canadian combat patrol, which is, I think it's not like a destroyer or a frigate or anything like that. I think it's a couple of like patrol boats and maybe an observer aircraft.
Right.
And so they managed to outpace the patrol boats. And this is the part, I think they must have repaired the gun while they were landed, because they managed to repel 3 air attacks from the spotter planes until they basically ran out of fuel and couldn't chase it anymore.
Wow.
Which, I mean, either they didn't repair like the gun and then we're just using some onboard machine guns or something like this to spray this aircraft. Yeah, and then they managed to slink away, not being able to dive. I suspect that they must have like outran the patrol boat, and the aircraft would have ran out of fuel or stopped chasing them, or was needed elsewhere. And they were like, it's a U-boat heading back to Germany. We don't care.
Did they like track where the U-boat had been or anything?
No.
They just were like, what's this doing here?
Yeah. This is the part about the story that I love the most. How long do you think that weather station stood? You know what? Let pause for a moment and give our viewers a chance to guess. How long do you think that weather station stood in Canada? What do you think, Tyler?
I'm gonna say like end of war. So what is this? 42? So 3 years. 3 years?
You're wrong.
Less.
Longer.
How much longer?
You were short by a factor 10 and then some. That radio station stood until 1981.
What?
Yes. Yes.
Was it still transmitting data?
I think so. I think it was still transmitting, because I don't know if it was like solar powered or had some like rechargeable battery or something. Yeah, and it was just it was still. The best part is it was actually discovered like a dozen times over the decades.
Right.
And everybody just went, yep, Canadian
Meteorological Service. Of course. Oh my God.
And apparently some of those discoveries were by Indigenous people as well. And they went, yep, like Canadians, yep.
Those dirty Canadians and Americans. Look at these wrappers everywhere that they've left.
All of these chewed cigarettes.
Is that a chewed cigarette? Those Americans like whack.
And then and how do you think they actually realized it was like a Nazi Germany thing?
How they realized it was?
Yeah.
I don't know. Someone leave some sauerkraut behind. I have no idea.
There was Siemens had started a historical division, and so basically they had created a team within the company to document and communicate the history of Siemens to like other new employees and stuff, and have run like an internal like small case Siemens museum as like this is where we came from sort of thing.
That's right.
He found the contract in a Siemens like archive in 81. Nice. So he found like a 50-year-old piece of paper.
Holy cow. That was the only way they knew.
Yeah. And he contacted the Canadian government and went like, yeah, that's a Nazi weather station you have.
Oh my God.
And I'm not sure.
That's
as far as I understand it, that weather station is on display somewhere. I don't know if Siemens owns it now or if it's on display in one of the Canadian museums.
Man, I wanted it. Could he have not found that piece of paper? Could you imagine? 2020, 2022, right? We just find still Nazi shit just out there.
Yeah, I think there's rumor that there's still like several hundred weapon caches buried in the Arctic Circle of just like Nazi World War II shit.
Oh, that's actually, I saw a story. I was going to use it as one of my stories today, actually, about the an Arctic base that the Germans had. It's not the one that I'll be using, but GnT episode 3. Just saying. But yeah, no, that's amazing. Was there anything else?
And what more do you want out of a story like that, Tyler?
I'm just asking because if there is, like, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some other twist.
No, that was the twist. I just can't believe that chain of events happened. How do you get a U-boat slammed against an iceberg?
Yeah.
Lose all of your weapons, lose your ability to hide.
Yeah.
Do your mission, sail back, and repel air attacks.
Did they lose just get back on the trip?
Sorry?
Did they lose anyone on the trip?
I don't know. It's not mentioned.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? Hey, Hans, I went to Canada. No, you didn't. You're a liar. It's crazy.
It's just like, hey Hans, I went to Canada. Oh yeah, how was it? Were the Americans chewing cigarettes?
No, we chewed the cigarettes. Yeah. All right. Well, in that case, one final story before we go. So picture the scene, right? You've got a small group of World War II Norwegian commandos, 11 guys to be specific, skiing
this is
away.
Gonna be good. These Norwegian commandos are tough as nails, man.
Oh, this is good. This is good, right? So they're skiing away. This is related to the thing I was going to do as a story. Okay. This one's still in the Arctic. So there you go. There's the segue. Sure, yeah. There's the segue. Speaking of the Arctic, here we go. All right. So got a bunch of...
You can cut that. It'll be fine.
Yeah, that'll work. I cut that bit too. So small group, Norwegian World War II Norwegian commandos skiing away from an Arctic Nazi base with 3,000 pissed off German soldiers following them.
Yeah, I thought we started this episode off with crazy odds. What's that, 11 to 3,000?
Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah. So less guys than got taken prisoner started this one, right?
Very, very deep cut for this episode, but yes.
Yeah.
I hope everybody had loaded that in the short-term memory.
Go back.
Pop quiz.
So I'm starting at the end here, but they've just set off explosive charges inside a heavy water production facility.
Oh, deuterium facility.
Yeah.
Tritium. Yeah. What was... I know that the Germans are doing a lot of research on that. Do you know what they were using it for?
Nuclear weapons.
Right?
Yep.
Oh shit.
Yep.
No Norwegians. So this is right. This is like that movie where we start at the end and then as they ski past the camera, it's a freeze frame and he's like, I think you're wondering how I got here.
That's it. Yeah.
I don't know what that is in Norwegian, but whatever it is in Norwegian.
Anyway, so it's a factory set up in Norway.
Yeah.
So going back to the beginning, Norway gets taken over eventually after they put up pretty decent fight, and this factory, which originally was selling the heavy water to France of all places,
right, okay,
it gets captured by the Nazis.
Okay.
And so obviously allies are like, probably not a good idea. Oops.
Oh, right. Because they would have found out about it when they conquered France.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And then I don't think the Norwegians were like, hey, Germany, do you want to buy our heavy water?
No. They took over the factory.
Yeah. No, sorry. I meant that the Norwegians would have been selling it to the French. The Germans would have conquered the French and then found out about the factory. And then obviously the Norwegians would have been like, no.
Yeah.
Which then became, no, but you have an MP40, so I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the British are like, you know what? We need to take this out. This needs to go. So they try and send in 30 British commandos.
Oh, yeah.
SAS guys, right?
Yeah, I think I've heard snippets of this story, or that there was just a whole bunch of commando raids in Norway.
Well, yeah. So, you didn't hear about this one because their glider, when it detached, crashed. The tail rudder or something got broken. They crashed. Most of them died.
Holy
most of them died, and there was 6 or 7 who got captured by the Gestapo, tortured, and executed.
Ooh, now, that's not a successful commando raid.
No,
that's not the one I was thinking about.
No. This is not the one you're thinking about. It does have a name though, Operation Grouse. So
okay.
So they were interrogated. However, they must have not given up the nature of what they were doing, because guess what?
That's a stiff British upper lip.
That's it. They try again. Because they do. So what happens is they send in these 11 guys. Eventually,
these British commandos?
No, so these are the Norwegians. So
Right. So they would be working with like Norwegian resistance or leftover forces and be like, we're going to take out this. Right. Okay.
Yeah. So they're commandos. So I think they were like they fled and then we're like we're gonna
Right,
take this roll on because we're Norwegian. We can whatever. However, so they knew that there was obviously an attack in the area. So they
Germans
beefed up. Yeah, the Germans knew. So they beefed up the defenses.
Right.
Of
Okay.
the place. So
fair enough.
So they put mines out, floodlights, guards, and the only way to get to the nuclear factory was by a bridge over a 660-foot ice gorge. Tell me that's not supervillain level shit.
Honestly, like you watch a lot of those movies about Nazis and you're just like, that's a caricature. And then you're just like, but wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more, right? So, and this is the moment in the movie, the Norwegians are there. You've got the one naysayer in the group who's like, we cannot do it. And the captain
I'm going to take your word that was a Norwegian accent.
It's not, but
okay.
I can't do one. So anyway, the captain sits there stroking his luscious beard. Like
he'd have to have one.
Right? Of course, he's a commando. And it pans to the cliff face above the nuclear factory. So what they do, below the nuclear factory. So what they do is they climb down the gorge, the 660-foot gorge, climb back up the other side, and make it through. No alarms raised, no minefield struck, no guard patrols encountered.
So you're telling me they saw this like insanely well-defended bridge over this like absolutely lethal gorge.
Yeah.
That's 200 meters up on both sides.
Yep.
And they just went, that's cute. We're Norwegian. And just cracked at it.
Yeah. Got the ice picks out, went bah, 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 all the way down, all the way back up.
They are made from different stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. It reminds me of that story about the I think it was a Finnish soldier who took his entire platoon supply of chocolate.
I thought you were about to say it like brass balls.
Well, I mean, he had those too. He woke up. The dude said he doesn't remember any of it. He woke up 7 days later with pine needles and parts of a raw pigeon in his mouth, with the rest of the pigeon clasped in his hands, and there was just a trail of dead Nazis behind him in like this weird zigzag pattern through like villages and shit like that. He doesn't remember any of it.
Was that like Nazi chocolate that he got into?
Yeah.
Just pens of chocolate?
I don't know how it happened. Or maybe it might have been some medication, but it was some serious shit. That's a 7-day bender that he doesn't remember.
That's like some doom chocolate. He's just like rip and tear it till it's done.
Yeah. Okay. So back to these Norwegians, right? These guys with the brass balls. So they make it in. No one knows they're there. No one knows. They made it in completely unscathed. They lay explosives to blow the factory up, of course, and get ready to light the fuse and escape. When none other than the base's caretaker, it comes around the corner.
Janitor.
Yeah, basically the janitor, right?
And so why is this so vividly playing in my head as like an action comedy? And it's just
sure
like just a fourth wall break where he's like setting the explosives and he's like, and you wouldn't believe who saw us. It was the janitor. And then it just like cuts and like zooms in on this like janitor.
Yeah. Wes Anderson, eat your heart out. No, so yeah, the caretaker comes around the corner. They point a gun at him. He surrenders because he's Norwegian.
Right. I was going to say it's because he's armed with a mop, but yeah, Norwegians are better.
Yeah, right. So he's Norwegian, so he's like, I'm not going to tattle. They still hold him at gunpoint, obviously, just in case. But then, so they're getting ready to light the fuses, about to run.
Do they take him with them?
Yeah. So as they're running out, he's like, hold on, guys, I've lost my glasses.
The janitor.
Yeah. So naturally, the commandos put the stop Hitler from getting the atomic bomb plan on hold until they locate the caretaker's glasses.
Honestly, that's why those guys are special forces, because they care.
Yeah.
And they know what matters.
Oh,
Good God.
yeah.
Like, did they pack an extra? Because you said they skied out of there. Did they have an extra set of skis for this guy?
Going through it, they made it through, no casualties, and they released the caretaker and another guy as soon as the fuses were lit. So
Yeah, okay.
I assume they let them go outside the factory or something like that. Whatever.
Yeah, and it's likely there would have been like chemical fuses.
Yeah.
Because so those are like, once you light them, you can't extinguish them.
Yeah.
It's
I think it was one of those crack ones you crack.
That's the chemical fuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they got back to Britain. Everyone gave them pats on the back, medals up the wazoo, right?
So they leveled the factory and then they skied out of there.
Yeah.
And nobody knew that they were there.
They only knew when the explosion started.
Right. So everybody would have just fanned out and been like, "Oh my God, everything's on fire," or everything's thawing, because it's wasteland of Norway.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
And then nobody would have spotted the 11 dudes just having a casual afternoon ski.
So end credit scene, right? You think it's over. Everything's over. The Germans are like, we still need this heavy water. We need the heavy water that's still here. We need to take it, and we need to take it back to Germany. So one of these guys and 3 other commandos get up with the Norwegian resistance, and they go back all the way to the factory and sink the ferry that's about to leave with all the heavy water. They're like, nah, you get nothing. You get nothing.
Oh man. I bet you if I was one of the German guys, I'd be like, were they here this whole time? Like, were they on the ferry for like months and months, just stowed away?
Yeah. There was actually two failed
commando raids.
British
commando raids. Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I mean, like, honestly, the salary that those commandos would command would be like, we'll try again. We can't afford you guys. And they're just like, should have just sent us in the first time. We wouldn't have lost his glasses if we went in first time.
So remember, it's a chemical fuse. You can't stop it.
Yeah. Or we think, yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, they said so. This, the fuse is going and they're looking for the spectacles.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So they're running out of time while they're looking for these glasses.
I thought they were setting the explosives. He rocks up and then he loses his glasses, and then he's like, "I'll come with you guys in Norwegian, but I just gotta find my glasses first." And they're like, "Cool." And then they're like, "No." They're just like,
"No,
we got time." Yeah, we got time.
No, he was taken hostage. They did the fuses. They're like, "We gotta go." He's like, "Wait, my spectacles. I need to find them."
Oh.
Yeah.
That reads like when you're playing D&D with a group of players who don't take time cues very well. It's like, guys, the fuse is lit, you gotta go. And then it's just like, oh, but what loot did that guy have? And you're like, the fuse is lit, you gotta go.
Yeah. Sorry, one more note on top of all of that, right? So the river, there was a river at the bottom of the gorge that they had to ford. And it's a fast flowing river. Like, it's not.
And it would also be like near zero.
Yeah. And so they forded the river at the bottom of the gorge. Got to the other side and then climbed.
Without freezing to death or dying of exposure or hypothermia. Well, actually, look, to be honest, if you're just like doing the upper back and leg exercise that is climbing a wall, you ain't getting hypothermic.
You hope so. You hope so.
Oh, that would be like bone biting cold.
Yeah.
That would be.
Anyway, I think, hold on. I think there might be a movie about this. Yep. Look at that. Kirk Douglas movie.
Thank you, Kirk Douglas, for all of the things that you do for us.
Kirk Douglas. I'll find out the title for everyone at home so you can go watch this absolutely crazy ride. Go on.
I feel like this story has been retold in a couple of different ways.
Probably.
I think like one of the battlefields had this in like the campaign mission. I think Battlefield 5, where you played the Norwegian Resistance.
Yeah.
I think it had a version of this where you sneak into a factory and blow it up.
Okay.
Guarantee you there was no Norwegian janitor with spectacles.
Okay. Here's an extra tidbit for you. So in 1948, a Franco-Norwegian film called Kampen om Tungtvannet. Sorry. The Battle for Heavy Water. Is what it's called. 1948 is quite faithful to real events, so much so it grabs the original commandos and makes them star themselves.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's so good.
So these commandos finish up the war. It's like, let's go, boys. Hollywood's calling.
What year was that movie?
1948.
Oh, yeah. So it'd only be like a couple of years like aged out.
Yeah.
Good. Oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah. There's a documentary called The Real Heroes of Telemark, and in 2015, the Norwegian Broadcasting Association showed a TV series called The Heavy Water War. So
well, I'm glad this is immortalized, because that is a feat and a half that deserves to be immortalized.
Yeah. So
I need to go watch
if you want,
now.
if you want to watch a cool old movie, Heroes of Telemark. For those of you who don't know,
I feel like I've heard Telemark before. Is that the famous battalion where they were from?
I'm not sure why it's called Telemark. Might have been the area. Yeah, in the county of Telemark.
Oh, okay.
You might also be thinking of Riddermark from Rohan, Riders of Riddermark.
No,
Riders
I
of
was
the
not.
Oh, okay, well, I am.
No, not even a little bit.
I am. But yeah, that's my story.
What a story!
Well, not my story. That's their story.
Yeah, true. How would you? That's not a bolt action mission.
It's a D&D game.
Or that's an O200 game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think that's very O200.
Yeah,
so for
I
those
gotta
of
get
you,
my hands on that.
Well, no one's got their hands on it yet.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean.
So for those not in the know, O200 is a 28 millimeter like stealth game. So basically just that story, except a tabletop game.
Yeah.
It is written by Graham Davey, which is the guy who did Test of Honor, both editions. Test of Honor.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't connect the name. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to that. And he was actually like super active on the Facebook page doing development. Like he'd be like, what do you guys think about this mechanic? What do you guys think about this mechanic?
Yeah.
And he'd like show you and basically play test it in little documents and tutorials and stuff. So I think the game's almost finished now. And I think he's doing STLs as opposed to like plastics or metals or whatever, or resins.
I think that's probably a better idea in this day and age.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess when we get our hands on O200, we'll have to play the heavy water battle.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Done. I don't know where we're going to find Norwegian STLs. I think Akhtar from the Bolt Action Tournament Group in Tasmania does some. I think he's got some Norwegian guys, so we can just politely ask him how he did them.
I'm sure we can get 3,000 Germans between us.
Likely. I think we might have to shrink down the scale a little bit. We'll make the Germans respawn or something. We'll use like we'll use like clever.
They have respawn tickets. Yeah. All right. Did you have anything you want to add?
No, I think that concludes this episode of the GnT Special.
Beautiful. I hope you all enjoyed your cocktails. Gorcin, do you want to bat us out?
Bat us out?
Yeah. You know, like the end of day of cricket, night watchman comes in, bats you out for the day.
No, I'm not a cricket guy.
Never mind then.
We'll just lose like hundreds of followers off the back of that. That I'm not.
You don't have hundreds of followers to lose, so it's fine.
I watch NFL and I've got Monday off for the Super Bowl. So
do I. I'm going down to a pub early in the morning. I'm going to go watch that with my dad because it's his birthday the day before. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
We just dated this episode. Hard.
Well, we didn't say which Super Bowl.
Yeah. It's next year's.
It's one of the Super Bowls.
All right. Yeah. Do you want to tap us out? I don't know what. Do you want to do the outro?
I really was enjoying watching you struggle. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the HMG Podcast. I was your host, Gorcin, and joining me today was
Tyler.
So this was a GnT Special. We talked about some Weird War stuff. If you liked it, be sure to check us out on the other content that we do. So like us on Facebook, HMG Podcast. On YouTube, we're under Western Tabletop. You can find us there. Make sure to follow us on all the socials, subscribe, share, and hit the notification buttons. Thanks for checking us out.
Give us them thumbs, them likes, them 5 stars, whatever. Helps us out.
All
that jazz. Yeah.
Hey guys, it's Tyler here. While I was editing this, I found a few bloopers that I thought were too good to pass up. So if you'd like just a squidge more time from us, keep watching / listening, and you'll get a little taste of the behind the scenes here, and also a teaser for a future episode of GnT. So stick around and enjoy those. Thanks guys, see you later.
This is more thirds, right?
Yeah. You kind of also want to fill the space, kind of.
I can bring the mic closer if I'm too far away.
No, I mean, you sound fucking gorgeous.
How's this for filling the space?
That's excellent. Good. A+.
If we can, like, when you can't be bothered doing editing and post-production, I can just do this.
slow dolly.
Yeah, I'll just start something really dramatic, and I'll just like pull it closer and closer, like I've got a dolly. Now, if only I had the zoom function, I could do the what's that fucking shot called that's in Jaws?
A Zolly.
Oh.
No word about it, what it's called.
Of course, it's just an amalgamation of zoom and dolly. I'm not ready for this shit.
Stupid shit part 2.
Look at that. There's a cardboard box. That was the perfect
fantastic height. MacGyver over here.
Yeah, honestly, that was like a Gloomhaven character box that just like shifted under one leg of the tripod stand.
We should do an episode on James Bond, speaking of MacGyver. Anyway.
James Bond? What?
How he was based on a real person. You didn't know this?
Yeah. Okay,
I know what we're doing for GnT 3. All right. Planning ahead.
This is 100% how all planning happens in the HMG podcast. We get together, and rather than actually starting the episode, we just talk about things that we should shoot in future episodes.
Yeah, that's how we roll.
Yeah, that is like canonical HMG.